things and reserved space for panels, among other things. I'd also bought a pass for Jenny, and there it was. I'd invoked She Who Must Not Be Named. I stopped dead in the middle of the sidewalk, earning glares from tailgaters and a muttered curse from a Jedi Knight wannabe. I began deep breathing to still the panic attack. This time it took only moments to get myself under control. Nothing like practice, I guess. I was still having several panic attacks per day, but that was way down from just after the breakup. It was like having a bad tooth. You keep poking at it with your tongue, even knowing that it's going to hurt each time. With a conscious act of will, I brought my thoughts back on track. I'd taken advantage of the VIP pass by reserving a space in a couple of back-to-back panels, and the first one was starting in less than 15 minutes. Exploring the Galaxy featured Lawrence Vienne as one of the speakers. He was a popular and prolific science fiction author, and many of his story concepts had helped shape the modern genre. It took only a couple of minutes to get to the convention center and find the seminar rooms. Con staffers had already gotten the VIPs seated and were about to let everyone else enter when I pulled up, panting and waving my pass. The attendant motioned me in with no more than a glance. I got an aisle seat by pure fluke. As I rushed into the room, someone stood up right in front of me and turned to walk out. Without breaking stride, I slid into the vacant seat, and the woman seated beside me did a double take. She must have thought the other guy had morphed. I turned my head to watch as they opened the doors to the common rabble. People poured into the conference room until attendants had to close the doors or face the wrath of the fire marshal. The Las Vegas hotels tended to have good air conditioning. No one wanted distracted or uncomfortable clients, but a lot of the attendees had been in costume for too long. I tried to breathe through my mouth while hoping the ventilation would eventually catch up. In typical con fashion, very little concession had been made for aesthetics. The tables and chairs were the standard folding variety, and the session information was written on a large whiteboard, in black marker, because I guess color would be too much bother. No one cared. The moderator, a short, round black man with a permanent smile, called for attention. "Good afternoon, gentle beings. Today we'll be hearing from Lawrence Vienne," spontaneous cheering forced him to pause, "who will talk about the technological and economic prerequisites to get interstellar probes into space. After that, Dr. Gerald Carlisle," more cheers, "will talk about the biology of extraterrestrial life. We're looking forward to a great panel today, so without further ado, I give you Mr. Vienne." The applause went on for several minutes. Lawrence smiled patiently through it and gave the occasional wave. Finally, it died down, and I settled in for a good listen. I sniffed at my clothing just to make sure I hadn't picked up some of the odor from the room. The second panel had been even more ripe than the first. If not for the subject matter, I'd have bailed. But any discussion of von Neumann probes was like catnip. I decided I wouldn't need to change before meeting my soon-to-be ex-employees for lunch. I left the convention center and headed for the agreed-upon restaurant, grinning at the spectacle around me. Science fiction conventions inevitably spilled out onto the streets. Stormtroopers, Chewbacca, and Enterprise crew critters wandered everywhere. Throngs of fans filled the sidewalks and crossed the streets, with or without traffic light assist. I'd seen more than a few exchanges of middle fingers accompanied by suggestions of an autoerotic nature. Great fun. Fans packed the restaurants 24/7, but the waitstaff didn't complain. Nerds tend to overtip. I'd heard that the casinos were less happy with the level of gambling. Turns out nerds understand probability. I made it to the restaurant without losing any body parts and found my group. "To TerraSoft," Carl raised his glass as he gave the toast. "TerraSoft," the rest of us raised our glasses in response. Carl, Karen, and Alan had been my first hires at Intergator Software. They'd been loyal and patient through the early hard times, and I had made them shareholders in the company. My engineering design and analysis application had eventually grown to be the #1 product.
Para seguir escuchando este audiolibro gratuitamente, haz clic en el enlace de la descripción y podrás escucharlo completo sin coste gracias a la prueba de 30 días de Audible.